Call into order the December 10th Management and Internal Services Committee meeting. We have already prayed and pledged. We have a quorum of 3 members here. Is there an approval of the minutes of the previous meeting that have been presented to you?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. Is there any changes to the agenda?
It's ready for approval.
Very good. We'll proceed as presented. I have no presentations or anything on the consent agenda. Moving directly into debate. Mr. Johnson, what do you have for us today?
First item of your consideration is the reappointment of Wes Fuller to serve on the Board of Tax Assessors. This is Commissioner Couch's appointment. She'd like to reappoint him for a 4-year term that will now end December 31st of 2028. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So move next.
The next item we have for your consideration is Resolution 24-46. This is authorized participation in ACCG program. This is for the for the first responder PTSD program. Again, another state law that was passed last year. The counties must comply. We need to get an insurance policy on this due to the sheer number of people that could be involved and the amount of money that could be involved. Dr. Carney is here to answer any questions you may have about this. We'll get him to come up if you have any questions. But staff would recommend approval of the resolution with the details in your packet.
Interlocal Risk Management Agency, meaning
That's ACCG's insurance program.
that's the name of their program. Okay. Any questions?
Move to consent.
Second.
So move. Next.
Thank you, Dr. Carney. The next item we have for your consideration is the master lease agreement with State Properties Commission. This is the Department of Revenue site. As you know, they've been located in our building over there, G1, for many years now. The lease has actually expired. They're asking to just extend the lease that we have in place right now. So they're asking to extend it from November 1st, 2024, which would be retroactively extending it to June 30, 2025. There is a 2% increase. The total amount of the rent is $17,869.72 a month. All the other conditions are going to remain the same. State Properties Commission and the Department of Revenue are actually looking at reducing their footprint. So there was some discussion about them potentially just leasing the bottom floor and not the top floor. But it essentially cuts us off from the use of the top floor with no other access other than being able to go through their building. So we think that they might have a better option of finding another space, and we're trying to help them find another space as well. But I think what will happen is we will use the time between now and June 30 to find a suitable location for the Department of Revenue. But in the meantime, we did get a 2% increase, and staff recommends approving the lease with State Properties Commission.
Are we trying to find them somewhere else to be on our properties to keep it convenient?
Potentially, or it could be somewhere else. I know that they have looked at other properties that are not county. We don't really have any buildings that we have that we can move them into. I know that they've looked at some other places as well. They were just over the line in Richmond County when they moved here in this building. They want to stay central. They'd like to stay in this area, but the footprint they need is much smaller than what they have, but really larger. I mean, it would be larger than most of our departments. I mean, we don't have 20 or 30 people working really in any of our departments here, so we don't have a space for that.
And do we have a use for that space if it becomes vacant?
I've got some ideas. I think the county could probably put it to use, and I've got some ideas about what we might want to do.
Move to consent.
Second.
So move. Thank you. Internal Services?
Yes, the item I have for you is an agreement with Deanna Specialty Transportation for the Department of Human Services Coordination Grant that we receive. This is for July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. The amount is $80,000. Everything is the same in the contract as it was in the past.
This is a renewal.
Correct.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Is that your item? Yes. Mr. Blanchard, how are you?
Well, ma'am, and you?
Good. What do you have? I see 5 items.
Yes, ma'am, I got 5 items.
Right.
The first one is our annual maintenance payment for our Clarity permitting and licensing solution. The commission approved this software last year, and we're probably about 3/4 of the way through the implementation. It'll be done in the spring of this year. And I think I talk it up a good bit, but it's going to be, there'll be vast improvements in our internal workflows and how we interact with our customers. So there's a lot of anticipation for bringing this live. As part of our agreement with them, we need to make our annual license payment. When we Chose this software because it crosses a lot of different funds, because we have some enterprise funds that are participants and general fund that are participants. It was agreed upon that the departments would contribute toward the cost of their own licensing. So I have those broken down in the agenda item. Grand total is $214,246.10, and staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
And this aligns with the contract?
Yes, sir.
Second.
So moved. Thank you. We are excited to see this go live. Next.
All right, the next two items are somewhat related, and I'll describe that as I go on. The first one is the upgrade of the sheriff's office email from an on-premise to an Exchange Online solution. You know, the sheriff's office and county IT each have their own Microsoft license provider. The licensing is different because of the way that the sheriff's office does business. Theirs is more equipment-oriented, ours is more person-oriented. As we've moved forward, they have not made the leap yet to Exchange Online, to the hosted email environment. And so they have a quote here from the Software House International, SHI, in order to carry through on that project for them. The cost is $51,365, and that'll be paid from TA funds.
Any reason we don't bundle this together and get better pricing?
That's been a topic that we've discussed with them. The challenge right now is because of how they do their business. If they have one computer that's used by many different people because of their 24 operations, we don't do that. And Microsoft has got a fine line between how you manage your licensing. So it's a Microsoft licensing issue. We've had discussions with them about how to combine the licensing. That'll actually be part of the next agenda item that I'm going to be talking about. But up until this point, it hasn't made economic sense to do that.
Because we have multiple people using the same computer in the sheriff's office.
Right.
I get it.
That's one of the components. There's others, but that's one that.
I think the law enforcement aspect is something that the sheriff, again, being a constitutional officer, the law enforcement aspect, he wants to maintain his own system. He don't want people outside of his agency having access to his system.
Move to consent.
Second.
Thank you. So moved. Next.
Next item is an intergovernmental agreement with the Sheriff's Office for Microsoft 365. I'm saying Microsoft 365 here. It applies to the licensing that I just discussed for the Microsoft SharePoint and Teams and Office components that we license, as well as email. At the highest levels, if we want to share information with them, there are certain things that our staff has to be able to do on their side, and vice versa, in order to, like, I don't want to get too deep in the technical weeds here, but so that we can see each other's email accounts and communicate more effectively. We've done that as basically a gentleman's agreement over the last few years, and because of additional requirements that have been put on them by the Georgia Criminal Information Center, or GCIC, we need to formalize that somewhat. So that's what we have before us, is the IGA that essentially formalizes our, I'll say, pre-existing handshake agreement, so that we clearly delineate what responsibilities different staff members have.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. And the last one?
Well, next to last.
Yes, sorry.
Next item is the acceptance of a state and local government cybersecurity grant program. We submitted a grant back in 2022, in order to do a physical security assessment of our technology assets. Now, you've heard me talk before about defense in depth and layered defense where cybersecurity is concerned. That's where our information security awareness classes come from, endpoint protection, firewalls, all of those kind of things. What we haven't done yet is a comprehensive review of our physical security, testing to see if people can get into data closets that don't belong in data closets and things like that. So we put in for a grant to do that. After almost 2 years, we got notice that they had approved the grant. So I have $50,000 for this, which includes a $5,000 match on our part. In order to accept this, we have to have an official signature designating that we are going to accept the money and then execute the project. So that's what this is for.
Any strings attached?
No, sir.
Move to consent.
Second.
So So moved. Next.
Right, and the final item that I have for you is our annual payment to Sienna. Sienna is the company that we've worked with in order to purchase our broadband network switches. So we have an annual agreement with them to provide technical support, maintenance, network operations center activities, and things like that. This is the annual payment for them at $100,888.81. Staff recommends approval.
Move to consent.
Second.
So moved. Any other items from IT services today?
That's plenty.
Thank you. I have no other items added. Are there any legal matters?
We don't have any today.
We don't have any legal matters. We don't have any legal. Let's move into staff reports. Johnson.
First item, just for your information, our personnel savings, you can see that the number there, total number for fiscal year so far is $779,273. And we also have our turnover there as well. So answer any questions you may have.
No questions.
Thank you. And year-to-date budget report.
Yes, the first report I have for you is the year-to-date budget report for the month ended November 30th. You will notice in the general fund, revenues are now up as the tax deadline has passed, so we're at almost 62% of our revenue budget, and all other funds are performing as they should.
Thank you. And SPLOST.
The SPLOST report is the next one attached. You remember September was a lower month due to the hurricane, so we are back up over the $3 million mark, and our annualized percentage increase is now 6.17%.
Very good.
Investments.
Yes, the final report for your information is the investment report.
Had questions on these?
No, ma'am.
Done. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any commissioner or public comments or participation? None. I have no executive session. Well, I have an executive session item. I'm moving that to the full board next Tuesday. If we have no other business in this committee, I will adjourn and come back in
About 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Switch over.
Thank you.